Okay, good.
Okay, good afternoon, Internet. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Macutay, and my talk for today is Top GM Secrets Revealed. Okay, so this is what I see from my actual table as a DM. A little bit about me first, a little bit background. So, I was gaming since the 80s, probably. Of course, most of you weren't born yet. And I've played everything from D&D First Ed to the newer D&D and around, I can say, more than a dozen systems. I prefer to be a DM or a GM rather than a player because, well, frankly, I'm not a good player. Also because I'm a control freak and I don't have control. So I hate that and oh, what's going to happen? So I don't like the stress. But occasionally, I play from time to time. Professionally, I was marketing director of Level Up for 10 years and I started now after that 2013, started my own company, digital marketing company and also an e-commerce site, Bubot, which is a partner of Gaming Library 2. So that's about me. Okay, now to my presentation. GMs wear many hats, first and foremost. So before I go, how many of you have DM or GM na? Yes, okay. How many of you, probably like me, prefer to be GMs over playing? Very good. How many of you have DM'd more than 10 games? Okay. Okay, so GMs wear many hats. Let's go to the first one. First, you're the storyteller. As a storyteller, your main weapons are your words. So, admittedly, in Facebook, I am a grammar Nazi. So I correct, apostrophe, tenses, wrong predicates, and really, you can't be a good DM or game master if you don't have mastery of words, because you can't tell story without words. How do you sharpen this weapon? Reading a lot, writing, blogging, doing journals, and then basically novels. That's how you do it. Comics, anything with the written word to sharpen your mastery of storytelling. Second hat that we wear is that you're the director. Think of it as you're like the J.J. Abrams of your campaign, diba? Or Whedon from Avengers. You are in charge of everything from production, logistics, special effects, cast, score, everything. Because you're the director, ikaw masusunod. The next hat that we wear is yung pagiging writer. Goes hand in hand with itong dalawa na nasa taas, is you have to prepare. And you have to write notes, and you have to write your story arc, your campaign, your ideas, your adventures. Another thing as a DM, you have to be an actor because you cannot portray all these NPCs, all the opponents, all the monsters, everything without having, an acting prowess. And di naman siguro Piolo Pascual level, but at least, di ba, you're trying to act. Okay, then you have to be referee. Pag may dalawang tao na, hindi, ito yung gusto ko, you have to arbitrate and you have to tell them, he's right, and sorry, but you have to make a ruling. Sometimes on the fly. I'll go to that later. The next hat is you have to be a rules master. Kaya nga, master eh. Hindi pwedeng kinuha mo lang yung fate, or let's say, D&D 15, pinasa mo lang yung likod, yung forward, tara, laro tayo! Hindi pwede yun. Kaya nga, I make it a point to read the book cover to cover 3 times before I run an actual game. 3 times minimum. You're not, during my days nung bata pa ako, teenager, early 20s, I can tell you which page a spell is and which paragraph, what you're looking for on the first and second edition of the AD&D book. That's how OC ako dun sa pagiging master. But right now, with all the time and I can't. Kasi wala pang trabaho, di ba? So, ito na ginagawa ko, tuwing hapon na lang, pinabasa ko na yan, pero mabasahin ko ulit. So, yun lang yung libro ko. So, mga 10 or 20 times ko nabasa yung AD&D na original book. Next one. So you have to be host. So DM, or sometimes, more often than not, they game at your place. So, di ba? May yelo ba tayo? May kape ba? May mainit na tubig? You have to figure all these things out. And lastly, these things are moot and useless if you're not a friend to your players. Di ba nga, there's this trend, I will not name names, na parang hindi nila gusto yung sa Facebook group natin, hindi nila gusto isang ugali na isang player, di ba? Parang nakasira. It ruins the entire experience, not just for you as the DM or the GM, but for everyone. If there's an, pardon my French internet, if there's an asshole in the group. Okay, so that's the what or how many hats you'll be wearing as a DM. Now, my take on rules and mechanics. So, it is a paradox. Previously, I'm into like memorizing rules as written, and I've been there, done that. I'm so OC that if it's not on your character, not written, it's not there. Diba? You can. Like for example, okay, there was this game back in the 90s. We go to a dungeon, we light a torch. Ah, no torch? No torch? No torch! What? So, diba? So, gagalit sila sa akin. Okay. So, it's important, but they really are not. That's why it's a paradox. Rules are just guidelines. Okay? Remember that the person, or sometimes team, who wrote the books have different interpretations of the rules as written. Diba? That's why there's so many religions that have conflict with this book called the Bible, because it's different interpretations by individuals. Remember that the goal of your game really is to have a good time and have fun. If you're not having fun, I suggest you stop doing it, because a game is meant for everyone to have fun. Next slide, please. Okay. My slides will be just different tips, and dire-diretso lang siya, may ibang klaseng tips, and then you might see na wala naman talaga siyang coherence, but eventually you can use these tips and apply it to your games. My take on preparation. There's a balance between being too prepared or being under-prepared. So, here are the key takeaways from that. First, you have to write with bullets. Don't try to write paragraphs or novels, because I used to write dati my modules the way that like a D&D module was written. And then eventually parang I was wasting my time because no one reads it except me. Di ba? Not that I'm going to publish it, but I was enjoying writing it. Don't prepare for everything, because 90% of the time they will not be going through that. Okay? Give an example later of what happens when you're over-prepared. Next thing is you can use pre-made stuff. During the 80s or the 90s, walang Google, walang internet, and you really have to create everything. Now, if you're looking for, let's say, you have a requirement in your adventure for a secret mad scientist base, just Google it. Probably give you maps, give you a short story behind that. It can also give you like sino yung mga scientists or what they're doing. Diba? So Google is your friend. And when you find something that you want, just make mods. It's what BJ calls reskinning stuff. And reskinning stuff in DM is, you know, you can get away with it, and they probably won't notice. Okay, let's go back to the dangers of being over-prepared. You should stop the design itch, because, like I said before, there's already one that's probably out there. You just have to search for it. And it saves you time, diba? But if you really want to do it, fine. If you enjoy doing it, no one's stopping you. You can also spend too much time to something that's really not important. Okay, let me tell you a story about, I wasn't the DM here, but I was a player. So we're up against this vampire lord. We're a party of around 5. It's back in the 90s. So our DM tells us, okay, it's nighttime, what do you do? So dami niya notes, probably as traps, mga minions, all these high-level vampires. Yung first encounter namin sa kanya, he was a vampire monk. So he had like 5 or 6 attacks, and every attack doing 2 level, dahil master vampire level siya. So I was like level 7, tinamaan ako ng isa, so level 5 na lang ako. Wow. And then level drain din yung iba kong friends. And he was like really happy with his creation. Okay, what will you do? He asked us. We return in the morning. What? So, no, you can't. Oh, yes, we can. Why not? Okay, so he was dumbfounded, went back to town, and then returned at the break of dawn. And we showed him the monster manual. Okay, they will have to be in their coffins, and we just stake all of them. Get all the treasure. And he's like, what the fuck, right? So he spent too much time preparing for everything, but he didn't expect what the players will do. And the players will always figure out a way to spoil their plans. So that's one of the dangers of over-preparation. Okay? Sometimes when you try to force something that you designed, you had this good idea, probably when you were reading a novel, or watching a movie, di ba? Uy, Matrix, gusto ko to, mga kalaban nila to. You're trying to force it and no one wants it. Parang nasasayang. Okay. That's the point of that. Lastly, don't try to build the story because it will all flow naturally. That's why bullets are just, enough to give you basic ideas rather than fleshing it out. Okay? One key trick that I do is at the start of the campaign, is I have a list of bullets with factoids or tinatawag namin na rumors. And let's cut it out into strips. And then I put it on a bowl or a hat. And then kukuha yung players ko, tigdadalawa. So sample sa mga rumors, the mayor is not human, he's in league with the undead. Diba? Another example is the dwarves are in allies with necromancers, blah blah blah. So all these rumors, half of that is true, and half of that is not. But sometimes you don't need to, kasi based on that, minsan makikita nyo nag-uusap sila. What if plan to ng mayor? Well, kasi may mga undead tayo na encounter eh. Patayin natin si mayor. Parang, bakit natin papatayin? So, it creates more fun into the game because they already have those ideas that they try to spring up because they have these rumors. But again, you did not write like tons of text, di ba? Just gave them an idea to fast track their mind or to trigger some emotion or some things sa players. Okay, let's go to note taking. A lot of people ask, okay Mon, how do you make notes? I have a GM's notebook, and in that notebook, I have several types of notebook. There's a notebook which I call my campaign book, an adventure book. It's a journal. Nothing's written there except story hooks or a record of what happened and what I want to happen in the future. Okay? I just put really short sentences. Like for example, flying castle. Oh, I want that. A doppelganger dragon. I want that. High level vampire. I want that. All these ideas, just put it on your notebook. And then when you're stuck, just go there and, oh, this will happen because something happened like 2 adventures or an adventure ago. Oh, this could be like the next one. So it's I call it as a, parang springboard of information for you. Next one. Next notebook is my PC notebook and hook. It's not a notebook, it's just index card. One index card per PC. And whatever he does na interesting, for example, yung he killed like a drunk. Pero yung drunk pala na yun, maraming friends na assassin, di ba? So they're probably hunting him. So you put all your notes on the PC. In Obsidian Portal, you can do that with secrets. Just like, so ikaw lang makakita on the Obsidian Portal app website, you can do that. My next, okay, so like I said, bullets are your friend. We already discussed that. And keep it short and simple. Oh, this one is important. Don't try to write for others or your players. Just write for yourself. Because no one's you're not gonna share your notebook anyway with them. Just write for yourself. Then take advantage Aside from my notes, I take advantage of online apps, tablet, there's Evernote, Google Docs, it's like on the cloud, Obsidian Portal, which we use for gaming. And then we can do threads, comments, records of adventures, WordPress for our blog, or official, you know, campaign. Every campaign have a major WordPress thing, Roll20 or Hangouts, etc., etc. There's lots of things on the internet today. Okay, this is my D&D. It started out as Pathfinder and we converted it to D&D 3. It started out 3.5, then Pathfinder, and now it's going to be converted into 5th. So that's the URL. So it's every episode, it's every journal. Okay, and then we have a tombstone. Everyone has died. Well, we have locations. This is an adventure log. We have NPCs. So it's nice to have everything on record. Because aside from pag nakita-kita kayo again, like years, you can go back and read na, oh wow, this is like a great way to reminisce. And it's also a great way to archive all the things that you've done. Okay, this is my superhero game. It's called DC Paradox. It's also on WordPress. The premise here is what if, because Caucasians or Americans lahat ng superhero, but what if Superman landed in Pampanga instead of Smallville? Parang ganon. And Batman is not Bruce Wayne, but he's a Chinese businessman in Hong Kong. So you can all read everything that we did dito sa blog namin. Let's go into NPCs. Okay? Chapter NPCs. How do you flesh out NPCs? Okay, personally, this is what I do. You look to celebrities for information, inspiration. So if there's like, diba, like a tough guy, it's probably like a Vin Diesel. If it's a girl, medyo may dad, probably like Julia Roberts. Diba? So there's a lot. Probably could be a buff guy like Mark Wahlberg. Second is I try to give him an accent. It doesn't matter if your accent is kinda, as long as it's a different take on the accent, they'll know that this guy is like, you know, probably like Indian who's like a merchant, diba? So, or a Chinese guy who's also probably a businessman. And this was from Dragon issue. It's in 1995, I think. 1992. Some DMs have approached me and they have trouble. Okay, so after I figure out the NPC, I can do the stats, I can roll all items and crunch him out. But what about his background? All you have to do is take note of these 7 things. You just have to write 7 sentences. First, his occupation, a little bit about his background. What does he look like? His prominent attributes and skills. What motivates him to adventure, to live, or to seek out his or her goal. The next one is, how does that NPC interact with others? What useful knowledge or secrets does he have? And lastly is his distinguishing feature. If you do this, even just by 7 bullets, you have an NPC that's, you know, probably more detailed than some of the characters. Okay? And you can do that. You don't have to do that for every NPC in your game. Just do that for your major ones. Okay? Since this is a workshop, let's see it in action. Okay. Now let's start with an elven girl. And I named her Nadia. Let's start with the first one. She's a dancer, the Wailing Unicorn. She's fairly new, bago lang siya. And before being a dancer, she transferred for one odd job to another. So, okay. Next one is, picture paints 1,000 words. She has long blonde hair, long-legged, tattooed on the right arm, and very voluptuous. Third, she is very agile and skilled. So she probably knows a lot about roguish, dexterity-based skills like acrobatics, or stealth, burglary, things like that. Of course, being an elf, she knows about the forests and the woods and about the elven culture. It's getting interesting. We're still 4 sentences to go. The next one is she's very curious about humans and dwarves, probably halflings, because she's probably, around 80, 90 years old, still a teenager in the elven age. And she's curious, and she's probably out for the first time from their land. So, ang motivation niya is to figure out, oh wow, these humans pala do these things. And, okay, why do they age and die? Kagad. And, okay, why do dwarves drink a lot? Why do they smell? So she asks a lot of questions. Next one is, how does she interact? She's very friendly. And like I told you, she asks a lot of questions. But when people ask her about her past, she doesn't want to discuss it. There's secrecy. There's kind of parang may curiosity there. Bakit kaya? The next ones will be just for you as a DM. Diba? These are some knowledge. So in truth, Nadiel really is, naive, out of her elven kingdom, but she's the daughter of King Laradar, the kingdom of Yarendel. She's made that up. And she was trained by the greatest elven assassin who ever lived, named Edenio. Okay, so she probably met them in the bar. Little do they know na the series of murders in town is probably her doing. Okay. Lastly, the tattoos, unbeknownst to the player, are probably glyphs, probably glow when something happens. At least it gives you like an idea. So all of this, just by, told you, 7 sentences, it sparks a lot of stories kagad just by, doing this exercise. And that's just one NPC. You can do this not just in D&D, but any game that you have, be it Fate or Savage Worlds, whatever. And because these are all generic naman, and you can incorporate it into any game. Okay, are we all clear on that? Let's go to plot and session pacing. Okay, new DMs fall for the trap that, oh, I'm having fun, but when they look around, their players are bored. That happened to you? It's parang, they're all bored. I'm the only guy having fun. Why are we in Breaking Bad? Because this is actually my case study and my examples on how you can do plot and session pacing. Okay, in order for you to understand what will make your game click, it's a balance between boredom and, or I'm satisfying, or look, they're all texting, doing something wrong. Okay, so in order for you to figure out why that happens, is I have to show you what happens in a 1-hour TV show, and that's in Breaking Bad. Okay, first and foremost, a recap. Previously on Breaking Bad, blah 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 blah. And if it's a DM, you have to do that. Previously, this is what happened. It's a short recap, diba? The next couple of minutes, there's conflict. Some people like to get, before the action, there's conflict muna. So, what were the bad guys doing? Ano yung plano nila? Diba? They probably have to cook more drugs, but nawala yung main ingredient. So sila Mr. White and have to, may problema sila, kulang sila ng kulang sila ng raw materials Paano sila diba? So it's probably the conflict, and they have to figure out where to get that. That takes around 15 minutes in a 1-hour episode. And the meat, 20 to 30 minutes is the resolution. It can either be action-based, fights. Sometimes they go to the drug lord and intimidate them, diba? Or drama. Mr. White will probably go to his wife and make up excuses and do role-playing. Sometimes they have to solve problems. They have to evade the cops, they have to evade the other thugs, the other drug lords. And that takes 20 to 30 minutes. This is the meat of the 1-hour episode. And the next one is to tie up the loose ends. Okay? These are the loose ends that the DM will throw at the players. These are the WTF moments. Parang, oh, he's alive, but he was dead like 2 episodes ago. Or was it him? Parang, oh my God. That takes around 10 minutes. And usually, you're going through the end of the 1-hour episode, which is a cliffhanger. Which will make you watch another episode. Diba? Of any, not just Breaking Bad, but anything like The Walking Dead or anything like that. So,
Hello.
come in. Okay, so these are the elements of a 1-hour TV show that will guide you as you emulate that into your sessions. So you know when to put conflict, resolution, tie up loose ends, and it's best to end your game with a cliffhanger so that they will go for more. Okay, so the key takeaways that we get for pacing through a game would be, first, is to observe your players. Are they bored? Is everyone texting? I have a rule that no cell phones are turned off or put in the middle of the table. The first one to gets it gets negative something. Okay? Observe your players. Are they bored? And you figure out why. Next one is, there has to be a balance between your action scenes and role-playing. Some players want action, some players want role-playing, but you have to strike a balance between that. Next is, this usually happens, and you've probably experienced that. It will be an analysis paralysis. There was one game that my players took like 4 hours to plan how to go into an opponent's base, and I was like, okay, just call me when you're done. And after that, I learned my lesson, and I tell them that, hey, you have to finish in like X number of minutes. Otherwise, you don't waste 4 hours. Sayang naman yung time. You have to cater also different types of players who define what is fun for them in their own little way. And I'll show you the different types of players later. Go ahead. Okay, this is what I do, and this is really frightening for players. Just grab a dice and just roll them randomly, and you look at your table or iPad. They're good. So if they're trying to go to an over analysis or analysis paralysis, they're trying to discuss. Just grab dice, roll, write something, kunwari, and then they'll think something's happening because they're taking a lot of time. Yeah? And it's probably to strike fear in them. Yeah, wala lang. Okay. Now I told you there are different types of players, and how they define fun is dependent on their type of play style. Okay, so here, diba, there's a sa Saudi, parang diba meron yung this is for the D&D thing. Okay. Different types of players. You're probably one of them, or probably a combination of them. The first one is we call the gamer, the war gamer. What makes them happy? Mini grid, damage, min-maxing, rolling critical, that makes them happy. As long as there's combat, parang ang dialogue niya is, tapos na ba yung daldalan? Laban na? Okay, masaya na siya. Yun yung type, that's what I call the gamer. On the antithesis of that person is the storyteller. Siya naman, he or she is happy when there's problem solving, stories, role playing. Okay, but when you tell him, oh, you have to cast this or roll your save, oh, what do I do? Anong dice nga ulit yun? She doesn't know. He or she probably doesn't know. Even if you've taught him or her like 1,000 times that you have to roll a d20 to hit, the player will not remember that. But he will invest a lot of time when it comes to the story aspect of the game. Okay, this is the friend or the girlfriend or the boyfriend who tags along and just joins your group because she's a significant other of that person. You will probably see her, as long as the group is having fun, she's quote-unquote having fun. You'll probably see her texting or doing the iPad, but about the game, she doesn't care. She's just there. he or she. Sorry, not gender-based. Okay? The other one is a newbie. Okay? First-time gamer who's there. He doesn't know what type of gamer he is yet. So he's trying to parang get his feet wet into tabletop. Parang inaano pa niya na battle, parang masaya. Pero ayoko pa-obvious na masaya ako doon. Parang nahiya pa ako. Or storyteller, ayoko nahiya akong mag-act eh. So, hindi pa niya alam, tinitimpla pa niya kung saan siya magiging. So, like I said here, it blossom into something else. Okay? Every group. Now, these are probably the okay pa. So now we go to the problematic kinda type. The one that I call the railroader. Is what makes the game fun or the session fun for this type of player is if they get their way at the expense of others. This player doesn't care if the group wins or not or solves the problem at hand as long as siya yung bida. As long as I have like the major part of the magic item because this is a purple sword, this is mine. Because that's what he wants. Or, you know, lots of other examples, but I think you get the idea. Diyan siya masaya. The next part is the rules lawyer. Okay, the rules lawyer sometimes is happy with this one and this one, but what makes him happy is debating with the DM and he wins. He memorizes the books, he will quote your page, he has it bookmarked with scratch paper and he will shove it to my face. Okay? And as long as he wins, he thinks that it made his day. So what do I do with those types of players? If he hits me with a rule, I hit it with the story part of it. If he hits me with the story, I hit it with the rule part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how the cookie crumbles, di ba? But of course, I don't do that to hurt his feelings. But sometimes on the extreme, I do that because sumusobra na. But, you know, 90% of the time, I let it go. And the other one is a fun, I have fun observing these types of players. They're organizers. I call them collectors. So what defines fun for them is the planning, the details. They will have lots of drawings. They probably have their own dice. They have their own minis that they painted. Their OC, okay? Their OC, if you draw the map on whiteboard marker, na ganun lang, wag! Kailangan straight. Okay, they're really OC. So, okay, we proceed to the dungeon double file. Wait, Mon, is it 5 foot or 10 foot? I don't care, you can go through. Alright, they're OC. Let's go. Okay. So, common sense, when the DM asks you, are you sure? You really have to listen. Okay. Are you sure? Okay. I've always told most of my DM friends and some players that DMs do not kill players. It's the players that kill their own characters. If it's a game death through stupidity, I let it go because they will learn from it. Okay. During my high school days, they're level 1 and the only thing that they can cast was sleep. Okay, so it's a battle, and they were up against humanoids and one it's called magic user, then wasn't called mages or wizards. Okay, one magic user told me, "Mon, I cast my sleep spell." And they were all noobs. And I was a noob too, but I knew that I said, "Okay, are you sure?" Yes! Okay. Sa kanya, in the middle, with him there, he cast it. So lahat sila asleep, and then the second wave of orcs went and killed all of them. So I told them na, well, that's it, that's the game. We can watch a movie at Green Hills. Okay, but those things eventually earn you equity in experience because you'll know that you'll never do it again. I try to let all newbies fireball a 30 by 30 room just to tell them, because I don't want them doing it on other DMs. Eh. Diba? You want to cast fireball? Or a 30 by 30 room? Yes! Boom! You're all dead.
Reset.
Do we rewind? Next slide. Okay. Some house rules. I'm not talking about house rules in terms of game mechanics, but actual table rules that I try to enforce in my games. That I will be sharing with you, so that you can probably adapt and make your games a little bit more non-chaotic. Okay, first one is no mobile phones on the gaming table. Because I hate it when I'm, explaining a scene, working my ass off, trying to act on this NPC, and, half of them are texting. Diba? It's kind of like standing here. It's really insulting, and that's why your teacher, if you remember when you were in college, di ba? Wala pa cellphone tayo noon, but doodle. Boom! Okay, I will only allow you to pick up your mobile phone if it's an urgent call, or if it's a text from your significant other. You can, relax. Tablets are okay, as long as you're using it for your character sheet. Every hour, I will require them to show to me the tablet so that it's not Clash of Clans. Okay? I always encourage them to speak in character. But there will always be game speak when it's initiative turn, and then someone says, oh, you better do this, blah, 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 so you can get an advantage, and blah, 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 have +5 so we can kill him. How can you do that when you're on the other room? You're not even there. If you're not there, you can't do that. Next house rule is, of course, to separate player from character knowledge. A lot of people can do this on the fly, but still newbies cannot. Diba? Separate player knowledge from character. That's why I try to take players aside. If it's just a scene or information from him or her, just tell him or her and act out like a few minutes, and then we go back to the table. Because I find that they cannot do it, or if they're not sanay pa in this, I don't force it. The next house rule that I really enforce, if we have a commitment on time, they have to be punctual, and you consider not just my time but the others. Because they sacrifice family or work or another engagement just to be in your game on time. Okay? It sounds, trivial, but it really is a big deal. And I'm sure you as DMs, and you have to agree that the worst thing that happens is that you're giving this guy finally, let's say Chel, finally this is her spotlight. And then, Mon, di makapunta eh, ganun. You wasted. Diba?
I never did that. I don't destroy those dreams.
Next slide, Chel. Okay, keep your side moments to a minimum. Even the DM is guilty of that, but I'm not really Nazi on this, but there are times for horseplay, jokes, but you hate a joke in the middle of a very tense situation when a dying NPC is confessing his or her sins, and then suddenly, oh, di ba? Parang ganun. Di ba? Next. Okay, this is very important, and they will hope that you do it on your gaming tables. If it's not your turn, you shut up. That's it. It's not your turn, even. But I just want to tell him blah blah blah. Well, you have, because around this 10 seconds, and you're probably 25% of that, I'll give you 3 seconds to do it. If you can't do it in 3 seconds, you cannot. Diba? That's why in comics, we don't tell them na ang daming cloud balloon. Ngayon habang sinusuntok niya, nagsabi na siya ng 3 kwento. Hindi pwede sa RPG. Next. Okay? Return everything. I count them, and I want them back. I mean, you can borrow as many as you want. You can have 3 sets, whatever. But there are certain colored dice that I will identify that you cannot touch or use. That's just for me. Alright. As long as it's a system that has many dice. But if it's a fudge dice or fake dice, fine, because we only have a few. Okay lang yan. Alright. Last part, tools of the trade. These, what do I have on my GM's bag that probably a lot of people ask. Okay, let's go. First with bags. There's like the messenger bag and the bag. Alright, I'm kind of like a messenger bag kind of person. So I have a messenger bag just for what's in your messenger bag, DM1. Let's start, of course, with dice, and you can buy it at my shop. I have the iPad, my laptop, and a small speaker because the laptop speaker is hindi maririnig. Diba? You want to have chips, different colors. So in Fate, you can use it as Fate points, you can use it as, different things on the map, tokens, NPCs, random monsters, etc. etc. I have a two-sided chess battle map, which you can, reuse. I also have this thing that you can buy at National. It's a small thing, so you don't have to you can save the trees and not draw too much paper. So if you want to show, in fact, you want to show a note, bigay mo na sa kanya, pag ganun, and then mabasahin lang niya ganun, buburahin niya, he'll return it to me. But try to conserve sa paper then. Next, I have a calculator because I don't want to find my phone and just want to, they have some math or something crunchy, just have it there. And they borrow it when it's their time to compute, like XP or whatever. Oh, wow. Binder clips are useful if you're an index card kind of guy. Also, if you take away this and you put out like a cutout, you can use it for tokens. Next, I have my own figures that I paint. These are examples. Yeah. Okay. Okay, this one is styrofoam that you buy from National. The 3/4 inch, and just scour it. 1 inch grid, and you paint it black over, and you dry brush it gray and then white. So this is a dungeon tile that I made on my own a couple of weekends, and it looks good. Looks like that, and you can like do everything, even eto toothpick lang yan, so pwede mataas babaya.
Awesome.
So I have like a set of this, and you just take them out. But I only do this a house because you have to take them out.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So in their house, they're kind of like, oh, wow. So share nila sa Facebook, and it's nice. And I'm proud of it because hindi ko naman binili yan. I made it myself. So there we go. And that's my talk. And thank you. If you have any questions.
What if, kasi we were talking about planning kanina.
Mm-hmm.
What if sobrang na-railroad yung plan mo to the point na you have, did it ever happen na sobrang
Yes.
railroad yung plan mo to the point that you have to stop a session and say, next week na lang?
No.
Parang what?
That separates a good DM from a great GM. Diba? A good DM will say, time out! Go down, kuha ng beer o kuha ng ballpen. But a great DM will run your game as if he had planned it. And you will never know the difference. The best games that I had never had a single piece of note, and I just had something on my head. And in fact, they thought it was well planned out, and when they asked, oh, what were your notes? Nothing. Oh, what about the stats? Well, to give you a short GM Ninja thing, okay. Here's a GM Ninja thing for playing D&D. Figure out their maximum damage based on their favorite weapon or spell. Add it all up. Let's say 5 PCs. One does 50, one does... Example, you added it all up, 200. Diba? If you put a monster that does 100, it dies in half a round. Got it? Diba? So, to count here, sometimes you don't even do the math. I just know that... Okay, don't tell me there's this. I just know that I wanted to live like 5 rounds, so that it's kind of like an exciting fight. It's a round system. Yeah. The stupid mooks, the non-name thing can die with 1 hit. Or 2. You don't need to give them stats. That's why the GMs use screens. They will hit from time to time. Doesn't matter what roll dice. Oh, they hit, they hit. From time to time, they will. Okay, but to answer your question, yun nga, you only get that from experience. They reload the plan. To give you an example, di ba? Yung kwento ko kanina. Yung vampire, sinabi namin sa DM, babalik kami umaga. Ano ba? Di ba? Parang hindi niya naisip. But, you know, a good DM can, you know, kung normal DM na siya, parang, I give up. Go patay lahat ng vampire. But you, di ba? Don't show weakness. Okay, fine, you go in the morning. But of course, aren't those master vampires stupid to leave their lair unguarded? Diba? You return there and there's like, you know, heavily mounted minions na armored with ranged weapons. Parang, oh, what the fuck? You turn the tables on them. But you never wrote any single word of that.
Parang on the fly.
It's really on the fly. Any other questions?
When you run a game, parang ano, di ba you did an example, Breaking Bad?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the session pacing.
When you pace the session, parang do you do multiple lulls and multiple peaks sa ano sa excited sa pacing ng game, like it biglang magiging exciting, biglang magiging boring.
That's why you have to regularly take breaks and you have to call the break. That's why, di ba, meron akong table house rule na always speak in character. When they call the break, merienda break, di ba? Then they can stop speaking in character and then they can, because taking breaks is also useful to cut from the monotony of either the, minsan sometimes over action, over role playing is anything taken to extreme is not healthy. Diba? So yes, it's not, my example is the Breaking Bad, di ba? Yung recap previously from Breaking Bad, and then problem, and then the meat of the episode, and then resolution, and then cliffhanger, right?
Yes.
You don't necessarily follow that in your game na gano'n, na 15 minutes to, minutes to, you don't time it out eh. But you look at your players and you see that, okay, naboboard na yung mga mahilig sa battle. Then, okay, roll initiative! Tigil yung Clash of Clans. No, this one. So you just have to observe. Yeah, you don't have to follow the minute rule, but you have to balance it out with chunks of that so that you can satisfy the types of players. Okay, another secret is try to give yourself a project as a DM. I want to develop this wargamer into a role player. Why? By making scenes from him, specifically from him or her, to shine. Make it solo, na lahat nakatingin sila. Okay? I'll give you an example. We're playing Rifts, Node System, Palladium, back in the early 2000s. Okay, there was this guy, Cyber Knight. Wala, di siya. Talagang di siya nagsasalita, timid, shy. And then, I made a scene na mag-isa lang siya. I was looking at the apparition. So I described, you're now seeing this apparition, blah, 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 blah. And then, what do you do? I wasn't dice, I hit. No. We say, why don't you talk to the apparition? And roleplay. The other guys naman were role players. Oh, we probably developed this guy into a role player. Sige na, sabihin mo. Paano? Akka, kunyari ikaw yung character, sasabihin mo lang. O siya naman. Takes the cue, spotlights on the guy, puts out his side sword, which is like a lightsaber. Sabi niya, oh, proud ako, di ba? Kasi nagiging role player na yung game, yung wargamer eh. Oh, what is it? You there? Yes, sabi ng ghost. Why are you shimmering? Okay. Okay, very good. That's a good start.
Yeah.
That's a good start. Okay. Sometimes naman, on jumping systems, there will be, especially for mga hindi sanay, na newbie players, if you're the kind of DM na, hey, I bought this new book, or new setups, let's play this. There's a danger to that. This gaming group started out with a Palladium system, and there's a mechanic there called backflip, where everyone has a backflip number percentile die, so you can get off from and disengage from a fight. Right now, I introduced them to D&D. They were in this deep water, and they were fighting humanoids in the river. And we went to it. Okay, what do you do? I backflip in full scale armor. Yes. Fine. What happens? You see fish, and you are drowning. So there's a danger with jumping systems. Na, but you have to explain to them that this doesn't work here. Okay. Dami mga moments like that. Any other questions? From pacing to well, let's discuss to the house rules. You can go back. Just to see. Here, everything okay there?
Question. How do you develop yung awareness ng players mo sa consequences ng possible actions nila? Kasi I'm handling a group of college students.
Alright.
It's either they're ignorant of the consequences or hindi lang sila sanay mag-map out mag-enumerate ng mga
Okay. You don't
Kasi
spoon feed.
hindi makikita mo dun sa how they engage sa battles. It's not optimal or they do something that puts them at a disadvantage. Yun yung first impulse nila usually.
Okay. Yun to yan. You fudge it a little bit in favor of the players because they're the stars of your story. Diba? Die Hard would be crappy if, dies on the far side. Yeah. So, since bida naman talaga, Neo, diba, always gets away with it. But I'm not saying that you always do that. There will be situations where you want them to fail. Because I always believe that I had all this experience because I learned through all my mistakes as a player. And there's no better way to make you a better player than to fail. Okay? To give you an example, okay, they're fighting head on. Don't tell them that this is a flank. This is what happens when you idiots don't mind your left and right. No. Just do it and and then you tell them, ask them, what probably went wrong? Oh, we were not binabantayan yung left or right.
So
then the experience will,
post-mortem
yes.
sila.
Yes, it's the experience that will teach them more. Don't force them into. Remember that you're not running the game for yourself. Okay, what makes you happy probably doesn't make 60 or 70% of the players happy. You have to throw that. I learned that the hard way. You have to throw that out of the window because you're running the game for your group. Because for me, doesn't matter if, sabi nga ni Che, if my plans don't succeed, because it's not about my plans, it's about everyone having fun. That's the goal of the game. It doesn't matter if you get into a rules argument, as long as at the end of the day or the gaming night, everyone has fun, because that's why we game. Last question.
Yung isa pa. Kasi yung isang tao ko dun sa grupo na yun, fighter parang na-trauma yata dun sa earlier sessions namin na halos mamatay-matay siya. Parati siyang apprehensive instigate ng actions or na parang may built-up fear na siya na if he does something, he's gonna get killed.
Okay.
How do you encourage him to engage more? Kasi yung frontline character ka tapos gusto mo sa likod.
Okay.
How do you help him recover from
The best suggestion that I can tell you is to take a more experienced guy on your group than him, because a player will listen more to a peer, because from you it comes as godlike from you. It's a top-down kind of strategy with some management diba? You fear your managers, that's why you do it. That's why ayoko ng, oy, ba't hindi yan sa likod, bobo ka dito ko sa harap. It's kind of demeaning. It's like probably from your senior manager at the office, diba? But if it comes from his peer, or slightly above him in terms of experience, talk to this guy. Uy, baka pwede mo naman siyang turuan. He'll listen more to that. But indirectly, it came from you. Diba? Na, you know, we appreciate you being back, but, you know,